Okay, so the issue here is they're a software review company, and their revenue model is heavily tied to specific pages that are monetized, and they work off of a sponsorship. So these sponsors, these software companies, pay them based off of their visibility. So when they ask to see their traffic, if they see their traffic is going down, that's going to reduce the amount. Now, I don't know this for a fact, because they've never really revealed what their pricing model is, but I'm assuming that if their traffic is going down, it's going to devalue what they're willing to pay for a click. The thing is that Google Meet recently made a change that makes it harder. I just want to share the screen, and what I was saying is still accurate. So their traffic is actually going up. The problem is that they have a specific section of the website which is their monetized pages. And if we just isolate for those pages, the traffic is clearly trending down. The high point over the last 3 years was around January of 2023, so beginning of this year, and it's been on a steady decline since. So what I did was I pulled their organic traffic and did a comparison from this past month, from September to January. So this is what the sessions were for September, and the percentage change here is what it went down in comparison to January. So right now, I added the filter so now we're just looking at the pages that matter to them. And as an example, this is one that they were ranking in position 1 for in January, free CRM software. They've lost 2 spots since then. So now they went from position 1 to 3. And this is just an example of one, but it's the case for all of these pretty much. If you do a search for it now, you look at who overtook them is Zapier, which it's not a CRM software per se, but it's a high authority site, and HubSpot, which is a CRM software and is free. And this is what we're seeing if it's in relationship to the update, whichever one of the 3 or 4 that have happened since January, is that Google is pushing out these review sites in favor of actual software companies. So another example, you can pretty much go down the line on these. Open Source CRM. This is one that they were also ranking in position 1 for, and now they got overtaken by a Suite CRM and Odoo, and they're right behind them, right? But these are 2 actual software companies. So logically speaking, if somebody's going to Google and typing in open source CRM, they're probably looking for an open source CRM. Now, if they're typing in best open source CRM, let's see, their CRM, right? Because this is 10 best open source CRM. So this is a comparison. This is if I'm going to Google and I don't quite know what I want, I just want to get a comparison of what are the best of the type of CRM that I'm looking for. And this is across the board what's happening. But because they've lost a couple of positions with those the higher volume keywords is why we're seeing this downward trend. But the pages themselves, the content is really good.
Also, real quick, Caesar, too, sorry, I just slacked you a screenshot from SEMrush where it shows traffic too. So, Crowd is a review site like a Yelp, but for software, right? So it looks like they've been steadily shedding traffic too over the last, basically since January, exactly your point. And this is the helpful content update that just re-rolled out again. And okay, you can go back to their pages now, Caesar, because I agree the pages are good. And I was actually just looking at Zapier. Zapier is a really good post too. I mean, the other thing is too, though, right, Caesar, I'm also seeing that like sites with a lot of ads on it. So if these, like, Google does not want affiliates in these searches anymore, because for 2 reasons. One, they're stealing revenue from them, right? Because these sites are ranking and basically taking that ad click revenue out. And 2, they're, just monetizing the SERPs. They're not actually good results technically because they're skewed. They're biased, right? Because they're paid to be in those spots. So I know Google doesn't want to put this in. And I think what we're probably going to have to talk to the client about is twofold. Is one, they're going to have to find another cheap traffic source to these pages to pick revenue up, right? I just looked at the cost per click in SEMrush, and it's like $20. So it's too much to pay for paid search, right? So Facebook traffic, but that's going to be tough because it's low intent traffic, right? But, you know, they're also probably going to have to start thinking about another line of revenue for this business that's not just affiliates and advertising, right? We had talked to them before about making this much more personal, right? Making this much more, you know, with person written by people, not a company, right? And starting a podcast and other forms of content too, because if you're going to be in the advertising model like this, you cannot build a house on rented property, one traffic source, one revenue source, like, because this happens, right? And there's absolutely nothing that we can do about this. You know, we can try building more links to it. We can try having them invest in like a Haro campaign. Maybe that's an option too. Is like, maybe we do a much more high-end authority link building campaign through Haro links to see if that might help out a little bit. But aside from that, like, you can't make this content any better. And there's nothing we can do about the competition jumping or these algorithm updates, you know?
Yeah, one thing is if you're getting beaten out by similar type of websites, pages, they're similar, right? Because these other pages that are outranking them are essentially blog posts as well, long form content. But you really can't beat an algorithm update that you got demoted because Google deemed that you're not likely what the user is going to Google to search for. So if they're favoring actual software companies, then that's going to make it even more challenging to try to recover, because now you're fighting against what Google believes is what's best served for the user. We've made recommendations to the content, like to make some small tweaks. We did a really in-depth analysis where we took a look at the pages that overtook them, and we went to the Wayback Machine and took a screenshot of what the page looked like in January versus what it looked like now, so that we can see what they changed. Because for the most part, it's not like these pages that overtook them just came out of nowhere. It's pages that they were already on page one and they just got upvoted by Google to the top. So we were able to take a look at and see if we spotted any patterns or just anything in the content itself. And we did pick up little minor things that we suggested that they do to the pages. Of course, you know, adding a schema and all that stuff to it as well.
Yeah.
Authorship. But the other frustrating thing is they haven't made these changes.
Okay.
It's like, so you're complaining about it. Now, I'm not fully convinced, and I've told them, look, we got to just throw the kitchen sink at this point. I'm not saying if we do all this stuff. We actually did suggest testing, perhaps moving the sponsorship banner below the fold, but that was problematic with the sponsors. So I think they have to have it where it's high up on the page, you know, as far as the agreement is concerned.
Okay. I mean, what I think we should do then is go back with a list of the recommendations that have made unchanged, right? First of all, let's schedule a call with them, you know, just send them a link. Like you said, let's get on a call. But I think we tell them that these are open things that we had recommended. And here's why, again, because of this update, right? We just talk them through all the things we talked about with the advertising model, you know, looking into other traffic sources, reiterating those things that we told them a couple years ago about starting a podcast and making other type of content. Like, they just cannot build this entire business on top of an agency service that's working on an algorithm that changes at the drop of a hat and is meant to confuse you. You're not supposed to figure it out right away, right? It's literally what Google wants. So yeah, and then we just tell them, I think the recommendation that we make, one is say, we'll oversee the implementation of these things. Let's just get it done. And two, you know, what we also would recommend would be Haro link building. And we can just be like, look, this is a contract that we use. We'll connect you at cost. We usually upsell, but like, just go work with her for 2 months, 3 months, you know, and we'll come back or we just keep working on new pages, because they're also going to have to keep picking up traffic for other pages too. So we can keep on with the content. But the only thing is that they're probably not going to be excited about paying more. So the Haro link building, I think, is something that we should definitely push on them. And also the additional forms of content, right? Like I think just getting a podcast up would be, and they just have to interview people too. It's not like they have to get on camera and stuff. Like, just set up an interview series, right? And that could be another avenue to monetize, right? Podcast advertising does very, very well, you know? So we just got to kind of reiterate these things with them and, you know, just kind of leave the ball in their court about what they want to do, you know? Because I agree. I don't think we force them to keep working with us. They've worked with us for a long time. They paid us a lot of money. I do think we should be working with them still, but, you know, I don't want to put them in a situation where they're sending emails like this one where they're like low-key freaking out, you know, like kind of looking for a punch bag a little bit, if you will, you know. So just send them an email, schedule a call, tell them I'll be on it, and we'll just go through exactly this with them.
Yeah, sounds good.
Okay, cool.